Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order as it is pretty much 7 o'clock. If you guys will, please stand and join me in pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Whoops. I'll just leave that up for a second. Okay, John Weston, do you have a report? Okay, thank you. Hey, can you give us a little bit of an update about the race that you are involved in?
Okay.
By any chance? Yep.
Well, this happened to be the district. So it's like the Oscar Water campaign. Oscar, Brian Water on.
Do we have a mic?
So I would tap to be the District 12 field representative for the Oscar Water campaign. Oh. It was you don't know the chief of Oscar. Brian Water on our leaders certification. We're gonna have our tribal election June 3rd, and we are asking everyone. Politicians, they very much are to help out with campaign, volunteer, vote rate, voter outreach. We have to have your help.
Awesome, thank you. So for those at home, if you didn't quite hear that, he's working on the Cherokee Nation campaign, Hoskin Warner. And so if you still have a fire in your belly and want to get involved in an election right now, that's going on, and you can get in touch with John Weston, and he's happy to get you involved. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out, please.
Awesome, thank you. I just was going to say I'm running for school board here in Pawhuska.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so will you please pronounce your last name?
Yes, it's Amy Dworlcuddy.
Dworlke, is that right?
It's Dworlcuddy.
Dworlcuddy. Okay, so Amy
Yes.
is joining us on our Zoom meeting. She's the one lone person who decided to show up electronically today. She's running for school board, you said, right? In Pawhuska?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if that's a race you're interested in helping out in, I'm sure Amy would not say no to a little bit of help. So if that's something you guys are interested in, reach out to us. Amy, if you will, hang around till the end of the meeting and I'll get your contact information. That way I can get you connected with anyone who might want to help out.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see here. Rebecca, do you have a report this week? No? Okay. Vice Chair Celeste, do you have a report?
I do. We just updated the Washington County Democrats website. So if you take a look, if you see something with a comma or something that should be added, I think that or corrections. And we have our email list, we've got our social media, we've got our website. And if anybody is interested in helping out with any of those communications, talk to me, I'd love to help.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Our bank account it's got $3,618.25, just for your notes. Okay, and then for my part, I also have a report. Let me get my screen shared here. So tonight we're going to talk just briefly about, I hope you guys can see that, but don't make it any bigger. We're going to talk briefly about our spring programming, like what's coming up in the next few months. The most important of which is in April, we have our reorganization convention. So every 2 years, we get together as Democrats across the state and we reelect officers, you know, from chair down to precinct positions. So we have a meeting in February on the last Thursday of the month. We're trying to get someone from the legislature to come and give us a legislative update, talk with us a little bit about the bills that are working their way through the committees at that point. And then in March, we will have Danielle, is it Lanier? Lanier, okay, so Danielle Lanier from the Oklahoma Democratic Party Veteran Committee. She's gonna come and talk to us just a little bit about what that committee is and how Democrats are working for the betterment of veterans in our state. And then in April, on April the 15th, we will have our county convention. Now, the state has asked us to have it on the 8th, but that's like, or the 7th, but that's like the weekend of Easter. So we are able to push it back 1 week and we've decided to do that. So April the 15th, I believe, is when our convention will meet. It will be at the library at 9:30 in the morning is when people are allowed in, and then we will start at 10. And then this evening, what I'd like to do is just briefly talk about the different positions that will be available. And the reason I'm doing this now is because we need people to fill these positions. And every year, positions go unfilled, which just means that that's a little bit more that we're unable to do for the people of our county, because there's just only so much that 3 or 4 people can do. So tonight, I hope you will see something up here that sparks a little bit of interest. Some of these are 2-year commitments and it takes a lot, like being the chair, that's kind of involved. A state delegate, however, is like a 1 weekend every 2 years kind of responsibility. So maybe if you like to socialize and go and do fun, big, important things with big groups of people and vote on important platform stuff, maybe that's your cup of tea. It takes 2 days and then you're done until 2025 or whatever. And if that sounds good to you, we have 10 of those spots available in this county. So just know that we have something for everybody. So let's talk about state delegate. It's super duper easy. You're just gonna go to like district convention, which is in Tulsa. I'm sorry, Muskogee probably for us now because we've changed congressional districts. You'll go there for a day. You'll vote on all kinds of things like who will lead our congressional district. You just represent Washington County. And then you go to the state convention, which normally is in Oklahoma City, but this year it's in Tulsa because our chair is from Tulsa. And she has influence. And so that's a boon for us because we don't have to drive very far. So you'll go there for a couple days, vote on a new chair for our state party, or Alicia if she's running again unopposed. And then you come home. That's basically it. Okay, so are there any questions about what a state delegate does? Sounds super duper important, and it is very important. What you do is very important work, but it's not super involved. For a couple days you go, have drinks, you dress up, you cheer, you know, and you vote, and then you come home. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I've been to 2 state conventions, past 2 state conventions. And it's really a lot of fun, interesting to see how the Democratic Party, you know, because you also will get to meet like the people that we send to the national. Vote on who runs the state party and get to know them. So it's really good if you would be involved in politics at all. It's good.
And if you feel like you're a little island all by yourself sometimes in deep red Oklahoma, the state convention is for you, because that is a time when you get to gather with literally thousands of other Democrats, and it's exciting. It's like, oh my God, I'm not alone. You know, like there are a lot of people and they all believe things that I believe. And so it really is a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm not just pulling your chain. Some of these others are not fun, and I won't lie to you about those. But this one is kind of actually a little bit fun. It's a 1 day in Tulsa for the district convention. I'm sorry, Muskogee.
1 day in Muskogee for the district.
Yes, and 2 days in Tulsa. Yep, I'm sorry.
For the state.
Yeah, our state or our convention for our district used to be in Tulsa, and that's why I keep getting. So it's 2 days in Tulsa, 1 day in Muskogee. And if one of those isn't, maybe you can go to the state convention, but you don't think you're gonna be able to go to Muskogee, you can always find a proxy, as long as there's somebody of your same gender here in Washington County who can fill in for you, you can send someone in your stead. Okay, so it's not a big deal. We just are looking for anyone to help out as much as they can. Precinct officer. So we have a few different positions available for precinct officers. Chair, vice chair, secretary. Historically, our precinct officers haven't been extra active, but really in other places where the Democratic Party is a little bit more successful than they are here, precinct officers know their neighbors. They knock on doors. They're the people that will distribute the literature in the neighborhood without question. They just know everybody. They know where to go. They know who to talk to. They know which doors to hit. And they're the ones that are connected in the community the most. And so if you feel like you know your neighborhood well, show up to the convention. Tell me your precinct, and I promise you're going to become an officer. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to call you. It just means that you're somebody we know. When we're looking at the map, can we say, in the worst case scenario, if we have to reach out at the last second because Julie Daniels is about to destroy our public education system here in this state, who can we call? We have to have those names. If we don't have those names, it's over. That's our education system. That's our healthcare. That's whatever it is at stake. So precinct officers, oftentimes people will just show up to our convention unaware that we are going to, basically press you into these positions. But it doesn't mean anything, okay? It's just, we want you to be these so then you can vote. You've got to be involved in your precinct if you want to have a vote on who is your chair in your party, okay? So we want you to be involved. Just know that if we come and say to you, hey, can you be a precinct officer, like maybe the secretary? I've never attended a precinct meeting, okay? So if you're worried about like, oh, I don't know how to take notes for a meeting, there's probably not gonna be one. Okay, but if there was one, notes are easy, they're just write down who came and what you talked about. Any questions about precinct officers? Lots of these positions go unfilled. Has anybody here lived in a place where the Democratic Party is better organized and more successful? Yeah. Is our precinct officer something that you're familiar with in those places, I guess? No? Okay. And were you knocking doors? But not in Oklahoma? Okay. More consequential. Yes. Yes.
Well, I was one of those famous ones,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to do that again.
Okay.
I did write some postcards, but I didn't really get out and do it door to door, but that's something I want to get to involved in.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, actually, for us, it's a list of people.
Yeah. Yes.
All famous.
Yeah, perfect. Well, there we go. We got someone signed up already. She's beating you guys to the punch. So after our precincts, and these aren't really, they can be elected positions. If, let's say, we had 20 people show up and they all lived in the same precinct, we do only have so many positions. And so they would have to choose amongst them who they want. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we are so thinly spread out. We Democrats here, especially when it comes to a convention attendance, that oftentimes only 1 or 2 people from a precinct even show up. So they just decide amongst themselves, oh, you want to be chair? I'll be vice chair. And so they just make a little gentleman or gentle ladies decision. This is how we will proceed in that precinct. So just know it's not extra competitive or anything. You don't have to run against your neighbors, but these are not our committee, like our county committee positions. Those precinct positions You won't really do anything, you won't vote, you're just out there in the community, okay? Affirmative action, however, there are 5 positions available for our central committee in our county. 2 seats are reserved for the affirmative action positions, a male and a female, or because we're more progressive than that now, one gender and someone of another gender. So it's just as long as the 2 positions don't have the same gender, then we've met the requirements. And specific attention will be given to people who belong to these groups here, because our party wants to make sure that these groups are represented at the table. They're not always historically given a place at the table, because oftentimes these groups are small and aren't able to vote themselves into a position at the table. So the party has given these 2 positions. They assist the officers with all of their other tasks. Really, the last time that we met in convention a couple years ago, we codified what the affirmative action officers do, and I made these slides before that. And they have really centered the focus of affirmative action officers on voter outreach and voter registration. So if you are a minority and you are interested in connecting with the community, in getting new blood into the party, registering voters, connecting with voters who have been disenfranchised or feel disenfranchised, who are apathetic, they're registered Democrat, but they never vote. Getting those people re-engaged, or at least receiving a ballot at home that they can fill out and mail in. Something that's kind of what affirmative action is about. And those officers, I mentioned that this is part of the central committee because this is kind of where there's a little more responsibility. We've passed a line. These people meet at our regular monthly meetings, and then they also have, they're part of the central committee who meets every, so like we meet, and then in 2 weeks, the central committee meets. 2 weeks later, this group meets. So once a month, there's an officers meeting and a general meeting. So there's 2 meetings a month that you have to attend. It's just a little bit more involved. We've been doing our officers meetings by Zoom, and also we met here once. So they're not really involved. We just meet and talk about strategy. How are we going to move forward in the county? What events do we need to be visible at? How do we register more voters? Who do we have come and speak to our group? How do we support this candidate or that candidate? So it's just a lot of that, brainstorming, bouncing ideas off of each other. Any questions about the affirmative action? There'll be 5 total members. Yep. So 2 affirmative action. The third one would be the secretary. The secretary keeps track of who's in our county, our registered voters. They also take the minutes of the meeting and make sure that those get posted up onto our, our videos and stuff are posted on YouTube. And then our minutes, they take those and then we approve those here. So basically they're just our record keepers. I think secretaries are pretty, it's pretty cut and dry. Any questions about those? It is, again, this is a voting member, and these five central committee members, they go to the conventions that I previously talked about, like the state convention. Yes, they're automatic. Any questions about the secretary? Rebecca's our secretary now. Is it hard?
No, super easy.
Okay. Vice chair. This is Celeste. Celeste, is this hard? It is hard. Well, it depends on who your chair is. Okay, so like she's got it bad, but who knows what the next person will have. Basically, our vice chair just helps the chair in whatever it is that they're wanting to get done. They're just our right-hand helper, and Celeste is the best. So they're also kind of our treasurer. You'll notice that there's no treasurer position in our party. The vice chair is supposed to kind of make sure that our money's not being like embezzled or whatever. So we've done a good job of that. None of it's missing. And then they assist in training precinct officials in fundraising, campaign finance. They just make sure that we don't overstep ourselves when it comes to anything having to do with money. We're very careful. I am crazy, like, about that kind of stuff. I would never get us into any trouble. Celeste couldn't even get us into trouble if she wanted to, because I just won't. But normally that person is like, they are the firewall against that kind of behavior. So vice chair right now, she handles a lot of our communications just because she's very tech savvy and is able to do that with maybe without losing her cool the way that I do. I have a life that's just littered with broken electronics, you know, and they were abused, you know, it was me. But she's very good at it. So just know the vice chair may be called upon to do that kind of thing. They're just the big helper. And then there's the chair. This isn't an easy position, I will tell you that, okay? Don't run for it lightly. You have to do a lot. Okay, you are the face of this party, whether you like it or not. You are a reflection of the candidates that run, whether you like it or not. You are every Democrat in the county, whether you like it or not. And it can be difficult sometimes to get a sense of what to do with all of that. And it is hard. So just know that the chair has a lot of responsibility. Our constitution and our bylaws, they give the chair wide range of responsibilities and powers. And so it's important to pick your chair very wisely because they have the ability to do a lot of things in your name. So just know that. They can appoint members to ad hoc committees. We didn't really have a lot of those committees. We had more events and that type of thing. We would have those committees, but nobody really signed up for all of that stuff. So we didn't have that. You know, you're supposed to vet the candidates that are running against Democrats in races where we have Democrats running. But, you know, George Santos in New York, I think, is a great example of why Democrats have to do their due diligence, because if you don't vet those Republicans like your constitution and bylaws require you to do, then you end up with, you know, crooks and felons and liars in Congress that are elected there. So just know that that's part of your responsibility. You know, sometimes the devils get elected anyway, but you have to make sure that they're at least on the right side of the law. You're responsible for spending the money, interviewing potential candidates. If we had a place, you know, where we could have staff, you're required to hire that, to train them, that type of thing. Any questions about the chair? You set the meetings, you set the agenda, you are the face of the party. So it's a big responsibility. Anybody interested in that? I'm not running for re-election, just so you guys know. Like, I want to make that clear. I'm not going to be the chair. So I know that there is some interest out there in this position, but please do give it some consideration. There are several people in this room who are well equipped to run the party, and we would be lucky to have any of them. Okay, any questions about your convention? If you have any questions, just know the convention doesn't happen until April. All of you are invited. Anybody who's a registered Democrat should come to the convention and have their voice heard.
Bring your friends.
Bring your friends, your Democratic friends.
Yeah.
Don't bring the other ones. Normally they're invited, but that's the one day they're not invited.
Yeah, you
Okay.
do have to be a registered
You do,
Democrat.
yeah, you have to be registered.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You have them go to Outpost and get a coffee or something. Okay, so a reminder, February 23rd, and this is all on the agendas out there. If you didn't get one, pick one up on your way out. February 23rd at 7 PM here, we'll have our meeting. March 30th, 7 PM here, we'll have our meeting. And then on April 15th will be our county convention, and that's at the library at 10 AM. Doors open at 9:30 for us, but then we'll do it at 10. Does anybody have anything that we need to discuss?
We need to approve minutes.
Oh,
please.
thank you. Yes, we've got minutes on the other side of your agenda if you are interested or you care. Rebecca has not made a mistake yet.
Make a motion.
Do we have a second for that? Awesome. Anybody opposed to that? Okay, then the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Any other business? Yes.
We were talking and I know that there's some funds in the treasury that have specific reasons or they have to go for certain things.
Okay.
And that is, am I correct on that?
We raised the money to go for outreach in the county. Yeah, but not all of it.
So we were thinking about possibility of buying a trailer instead of trying to find one all the time. And have something that it would be a whole lot easier to have quotes, to set up smooth and events, yeah. Right, so, and maybe, like we go to these states and we have outreach, and as long as it's not over 10 feet long, that will fit in most of those venues without a problem. So, we were just thinking it would be nice to have some professionally painted sign for it.
Okay.
But that would be something that it would be easier to get people behind doing a float, going for voter registration drives, things like that, and we would really think that's a great thing to consider.
Okay.
And would be a great tool for us here in Washington County.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
write this?
Well, that would be, I haven't considered tax, I have considered storage. Trailers doesn't do that, but trailers don't, if they're a certain size and they have to be taxed, but I don't think one,
Okay. Well, let's, I'll bring this to the central committee and we will come up with some ideas, find out the costs of different trailers, just kind of work it out and see if,
new
or used, yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be in pristine condition. We can always fix it.
I'm also gonna say about that like it's January right now, our convention's in April, and we don't really have any events between now and then. So that's probably something that we would push off to the next central committee that we vote on.
Okay, so that would not be something that you would want our local input on?
No, I would. I'm just saying that like the people who are running the party right now, me,
Right.
Eric, Wes, John, we would probably want to make sure like the people who are going to be running come April are the people who probably need to make that decision. Because I don't think we would have any use for it between now and then.
Right.
In particular.
What we can do for them is we can put together all of the information. We can get, you know, prices, we can figure out all of the nitty gritty. And then that's a decision that, like she said, maybe they should be taking. But again, we'll discuss that in the council and we'll decide. I mean, maybe John disagrees, maybe Celeste disagrees, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I switched my insurance to him myself because of that. Heard it for not like for a month from my old insurance agent. So. Okay. I. Well, and while we're on the subject, you said you had thought of like storage. How would that look, I guess?
What were you that one? It would not be. It
Okay,
would be out.
somebody would just put it in their driveway or something. Okay. Okay,
Something related that we've talked about that we probably need to revisit too is getting the new sign. We have
Oh,
the big Washington
yes.
County Democrat banner that we use at events and stuff, and we need to.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay,
Just
anything else?
It's easier to have something and wrap your mind around.
No.
Helping than it is, oh, if I'm gonna help, I have to get all this stuff together.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Thank you. That's a great idea. Really.
There's standards that.
I mean, so. That's a really great question, and the answer is I don't completely know. We had with our websites, for example, and our logos and stuff, it was kind of the Wild West. And now they've been kind of bringing everybody in, trying to get a unified look to the county logo so that they're not all different. They all look the same, but just with different words on them. They wanted our websites to be, they wanted our websites to be so identical that they offered us free websites if we would just switch from whatever we pay to use to the, very bare bones icky thing that they want. We passed on that until they make us do it, but yeah, I think that there are probably more rules than we recognized in the past.
There are probably more rules than there were 2 years ago.
For sure, and we do need new signs, and I think that I don't like to use the word conservative, but we're careful enough that I don't think that we would run afoul of anything. But as far as being as creative as we want, I can guarantee that's not probably something we should do because signs cost money and we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we wasted the county's money on a sign that they tell us later.
And we have a sign that says Washington County Democrats. We have a second sign that says Washington County Democratic Party stands for, and it has a list of 3 or 4 things, but we got in trouble with the state fair for that.
Yeah.
So.
And I use it every once in a while just because I like to cover a chalkboard, but.
It's a nice sign.
It is a good sign, and I don't disagree with anything on it, so.
But the state is very hard on this.
Yeah, they're getting
They have.
their right to do it. Yes, they're right to do it, but it's just different than the way we've done it. So
Yeah.
I should probably ask if there are. Yeah. Yeah, like baseball fields or something like that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
A lot of times, organization, fundraisers. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are better than billboards because they're there for a long time, like a whole season or something. Yeah, they stare at those signs like for an hour. It is a good idea. Yeah. That's a great idea.
You take notes.
No, I have no, yeah. Any other ideas? Thank you.
We'll get the start.
Yeah.
With the Washington Factor, we are. Yeah. And so, they shared our. They should, they have on their calendar. We have it in the newspaper and about it. So. Out there while we're not, it's time to go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And it's like.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the chamber also does, email blasts, and I
Yeah.
think it's like $5 or something. And then it's, you know, so for an out thing or for a like that, it's fairly expensive.
Okay. Any other great ideas? This is wonderful. You know, the four of us, there comes a point where you kind of just stop finding new great ideas. And I think this is an important way to show why new blood is really important. And that's why we do this every 2 years, and organize ourselves and kind of reinvigorate ourselves with new people, because they bring better ideas than the ones that, you know, I've been beating to death for 2 years.
Nationwide and very fair.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
If we had better years to work with.
Yeah, oh man, we could have done some great things, yeah. Yeah, we did. And there were times when it was me and Rebecca. And I'm not kidding, it was me and her, you know, and we were sitting upstairs broadcasting on an old kitchen table on Facebook Live, sitting next to each other, and we were the only two, you know, and that was it. And
But
we
had
did.
a monthly
But
meeting
we
back
did
on.
it, you know, like we walk up there and we do the meeting, and then we go downstairs to the bar and we make a drink, you know, so, but we did. And thank you for recognizing. Appreciate it. Okay, I've got nothing else. Does anybody else have anything? Yeah, I see. Yeah.
And the voters. I forgot about her being politician instead. And if that skip that time with pizza. I'm still baffled.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I mentioned Julie Daniels earlier, who, if you don't know, just reintroduced another one of her horrible school voucher bills. You know, she seems to think that if you give every family a certain amount of dollars, that means that every family is going to be able to go out and buy a public or a private education for their kid. And that is just not reality. And in doing that, they're going to subsidize rich people's educations, and then they're going to destroy. And I'm not using that word hyperbolically, people. There will not be a meaningful public education system left in this state if these kind of bills or these kinds of bills get passed. And that's just reality. It's not, oh, there'll be some things taught that I don't like. No, there just will not be schools for kids to attend. Yeah, right. I know, and I don't know, honestly, I don't know if it's, I don't know. I just don't know what the answer is. Yeah.
There's a woman here who's joining us, Amy, and I think she's making this in, she's running for.
Yeah.
And I think like, that's a big step. But that's.
Yep. Right. Right. And there isn't, I don't think that we have a formal party in Osage County. If we do, it's not one that I'm able to get in touch with. And I've had people from Osage County ask me recently in the last couple months, who's, in charge. There isn't anybody in charge. So, if she's a like-minded friend of ours over in Pawhuska running for office, she doesn't have this meeting happening over there to help her. So if that's something that appeals to you, see her and see Rebecca, and she'll take your name or money, whatever it is, however you want to help. I'm sorry? No, not Steve. We're talking about Amy. She's waving up there. Yeah. But education, clearly, we know education is one of those issues that kind of unites our area in a way, I guess. People around here will elect the wrong people, but then when they start to mess with education, usually they make enough noise that that's the end of it. And so it's really important that you guys understand that there will be a call to arms soon. We will be asking you to get loud. We will be asking you to get involved, because this is the last thing that we have left in this state. I mean, public education is the last service that we really offer anyone here. And if we don't have that to give our kids, what do we have? I mean, what do we have at that point but a bunch of potholes and broken promises? Yes. Right. Yeah, and it's
You gotta get it out. You gotta get it ready. Not on it. You gotta feel involved and encourage you to get out. You gotta figure out that. So I don't have to do it anymore. I've been trying to figure that out for the last year now. How do we get people involved?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, this thing about the school, that every other person talks to me for that.
yeah,
That we can't, as a state of Oklahoma, citizens allow this to happen.
no,
We did. And I think from our democracy.
yes,
If we don't educate people, then they vote the way we're complaining about people voting.
yes, ma'am.
A lot of this education problem.
Yep.
Seeing come to.
Yes, yes,
Today. You're gonna be study, I think, in state of Oklahoma, we were once solidly.
Yep.
And we had never elected. Governor, state of Oklahoma, that was not a Democrat until 1962, elected Henry Bell, which by today's standard, we call him the Democrat.
right, yeah.
So, we are not. Democrats, I think, like, and about the best.
Yeah.
That we all have to get the same test. Maybe this is some of what you are hearing from the state about uniformity.
Right.
Deciding uniformity.
Yep.
So uniformity in medical is how the Republicans.
Yep.
They tell the same lie.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Tell it, oh, yeah. Don't you got your changes somewhere, have something else.
Right. Yep.
Walking and talking to team.
Yes.
The Democratic Party, that.
Right.
And when you do talk to people who have kids who go to school, I just sort of been doing my own little independent survey here lately. Well, this goes sound kind of silly, but I've been going over the elder care.
Yes. I went there for physical therapy too. Yeah. They're great. Yes.
This.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they're all feeling involved. But think statements like this being made, well, I know there's gonna be a lot of stuff we talk about our school. I just hope my kids get out of school before this happens. Well, everybody's kids cannot get out of school before this happens.
Right.
And if there is one thing that people will stand up for and will fight for, it's their kids. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I'm here tonight, is for the kids.
Yes.
So I need to be converted. I've been a Democrat all my life.
I know. Yeah.
But the difference, biggest failure is failure, delivery message, and then when you do get things done, from, oh,
Look what we did.
look what we did.
Yes, we.
What we did over
Right.
there is, we cannot, this is not the time to give up. We made a rather spectacular choice.
Yes.
Save Oklahoma and the Joy Hall. And we were all somewhat little part of it. She didn't make it. But she came so much closer than we thought we could done. We get out there, more power behind it, don't quit now.
Right.
This is the wrong time to say, oh, we could never do this, we're gonna do all this. Don't become defeated. We need to, we have not yet begun to fight. This is the call we're fighting for, as we have. Keep fighting, keep moving on, keep being good Democrats.
Thank you. She's right, though. She's absolutely right. Yeah, no, it's, we're tired, yeah, but she's right. This is not the time, right? Because Republicans aren't tired. They're never tired, it seems, of tearing down everything that we worked so hard to build, you know? So we have to be vigilant. We have to keep going. We have to stay involved. We have to stay engaged. We have got to find ways, like you said, to beat home that message. And in case we haven't made it clear, the Oklahoma Democratic Party's message is quality jobs for everybody, quality access to quality health care for everybody, and public education fully funded by the state. Those are the three things that they harp on every time we have a meeting with Alicia. These are the things that we are to talk about. We shouldn't focus on anything else. And I don't think that I have talked about much besides those three things when we've had, you know, time to talk about any issues. So just know that that is our message. Yeah.
Like, do you ever meet at like website?
We've had watch parties. Yep. I mean, we didn't go and get anybody. And we invited, but the problem is we have got to do better about making sure that the people like in that neighborhood, for example, that I think you're, you know, alluding to, those, I'm not sure that everybody in that neighborhood is on our email list. And so if they're not on our email list, then they didn't get invited to it, because that's the primary way in which we, you know, extend an invitation.
Well, and one of the things we look at is door hangers.
Yes.
Design door hangers that are just sort of generic Washington County Democrat. Come to our meetings, here's our website, and then we discuss how we can have, you can have like statements, printed with special events, pick those on and door hang.
So if
That's something that we would like to do.
Right. And with those neighborhoods specifically in mind, you know, because those are the ones I think where people, we know from the data that those neighborhoods are where people aren't voting, Republican or Democrat. They just don't vote in those neighborhoods oftentimes. And why? Because they're working for jobs, because they're busy with complicated lives that our government is making more complicated. It is by design, folks, that these people don't have time to go and vote. No one wants them voting, or the people in power sure don't. I do. I think you do too. And so we're thinking about those neighborhoods when we design those, you know, just because those are the people that we need to show up.
Good for somebody, you know. No, no. You know, part of one thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think Democrats have this elitist.
I totally agree. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Uncovered this point.
Okay.
Where, lady, oh, hot.
Yes. Yes.
The young kids, yelling, I'm sure.
Right. Well, we've talked about how our methods of communication aren't necessarily the most effective when it comes to reaching younger people. If we have, I mean, we obviously have flaws, but if we had a biggest one, I would say it's that because we don't text. We don't text. We don't send text messages. And honestly, that is how kids, you know, anyone under 30 communicates. They just don't communicate the way you and I communicate. What? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Like the state they are setting up they have like a texting service that we can begin to get involved with. But these things didn't exist a year ago, you know, for us to use. And they were perfected on other counties. So now is a better time, I think, to start doing that. But that is one thing that we will improve on because we need to. Yeah.
I would move we adjourn, but continue to hang out.
Okay. Any second to that motion? Okay. Anybody opposed to adjourning but staying and chatting, socializing? No? Okay. Then you guys are adjourned. Have a great month, my Democratic friends. We'll see you in February. Hopefully we will have a legislative update. If not, we'll send out an email and let you know who we will have for that meeting. Thank you guys very much for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Yeah. So let me get your name.
Thanks for coming, Amy.
Thanks for joining us, Amy. Eric's wandered off to chat with people. Did you send us could you put your contact info in the chat for us so that we can, you're muted. I can't hear you, but I think that you're,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, just put your info in the chat so we can get in touch with you. Thanks for coming tonight. It was great.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye.
Mhm.